Run, Dawn of the Nugget, starred by Sam Fell, stars Stanley Newton, Zachary Levi, Bella Ramsey, Jane Horrocks, Imelda Stunton, Lynn Ferguson, and Josie Sedgwick Davis. And tells the story of a band of fearless chickens flock together to save poultry kind from an unsettling new threat, a nearby farm that's cooking up something suspicious. Hello, you weird, beautiful movie lovers. My name is Louie, aka Movie Fandom, and today we are talking about Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, the sequel that took 23 years to come out, and so yeah, first off, the original Chicken Run, I really do like that movie. I have always had kind of a mixed relationship with it. I have always loved it, but at the same time, I kind of feel like it's a little overrated and a little generic. But on a rewatch, admittedly, most recently, I do love and appreciate it a lot more. It has a lot of themes with it that really adds to it, and obviously with an Aardman movie, it is visually stunning, and it's kind of historic for Aardman in general. But anyways, I was able to see this in theaters. This premiered back in BFI a couple months ago, back in October. It got announced back in 2021, I want to say January of that year, and I was a little skeptical, but I was admittedly pretty excited for it, and now having seen it, I gotta admit, I really enjoyed this movie. This is it's very much of a different take than the original, but for the most part, genuinely, I really had a lot of fun with it. Obviously, the animation is great, obviously. I mean, it's stop motion, and Aardman are masters with it, whether it's Wallace and Gromit, Chicken Run, obviously, Shaun the Sheep, or Morph, or even underrated stuff like Pirates, and, you know, stuff like that. And even with their most recent CG stuff that they animated themselves, Lord of the Flies, which I haven't seen, but looks kind of good anyways, they are obviously great with it, and here is no exception with it. I do prefer the original's animation better, but even with that, the animation in here is great. The lighting itself is really great. When it's light, it knows on how to be light, and when it's dark, it knows how to be dark. It really works with it. And the designs themselves, since we do have new characters with it, the new designs we get with them are actually pretty good. And even with the human characters, I actually liked it, particularly one with a scientist, where I just really liked the look they gave him with it. Also, the writing itself, with Aardman's humor, obviously, I do think it worked with it. I wouldn't say it's as funny as most of their movies. This is very much one of their least funniest, but admittedly still, it is very funny. I did find myself laughing a lot with it, and it did really work with its humor, and it balances humor and seriousness together perfectly, and I really did like the tone of the movie itself with it, because it doesn't distract from each of them. It doesn't distract from being just funny all the time, but also having a real story itself. And it really did work with it. The runtime itself is longer than the original, and I actually like that it was longer, honestly, because we got a little more of the world, there was a lot more to explore, and this is, like I said, a new take on it, where, the original is basically a parody of The Great Escape. This is basically kind of a parody of heist movies, and I really like that aspect with it. The voice acting itself, while I do prefer most of the original voice cast with it, there have been improvements with the voice cast, particularly with Zachary Levi, who has replaced Mel Gibson because of the controversy, though. Well, we don't have a comment on it. Maybe there is. I saw it briefly, but I don't know. Probably not. But anyways, I do think he did a really good job with it. He fitted the character. Also, I just want to say this, in the beginning they show clips from the original movie, and I just love how much they avoid Mel Gibson, admittedly. Because even though they don't always have the original voice cast, talking in it, I just couldn't help but find it funny. But even with that, I think the voice acting itself is really good. I think it worked with it. The original and new voice cast is great, but for me, the main standout with this is Bella Ramsey, who you may know from the new Last of Us show, which, admittedly, yes, I still haven't watched. I'll get around to it, and I won't be a loser anymore. But anyways, she stole the show as Molly, and I really liked her character. even with the story with it being kind of generic with it, I did really like her character itself, and I loved her performance. She was easily the main standout off this, honestly, and I liked how she kind of took, and how she is basically the new Ginger off this movie, and I really liked it. Liked her character, and at times I kind of preferred her than Ginger. At times, she was a really good character. Also, also a new character, also Frizzle, who we don't really get much with, but I thought she was a nice inclusion with it. She is pretty funny, and she is able to move the plot forward which is mainly what she's there for, but admittedly I did think she was good, and I did like her performance with it. And also, I want to say, if you don't want to know anything about it, but this has been marked in the trailer, so skip to here if you want to avoid it, but Mrs. Tweety is back. And admittedly, yeah, I did think she did a good job, though she was less menacing than in the original movie, because she had a lot more depth in it, but even then, I did like her in this movie. And yeah, I did like, with the new take with her character, with also. Issues, maybe some of it could have been balanced out, I don't know, but even then, I had a lot of fun with it. Overall, Chicken Run Donna the Nugget was an absolute blast. I had a lot of fun with it. I was never bored with it, and if you are able to, I would highly recommend checking this out in theaters, because it would definitely be worth it. And if you don't, then it'll come on Netflix December 15th, and I think it will be absolutely worth a watch. Overall, I give Chicken Run Donna the Nugget an A-. So those are my thoughts on Chicken Run Donna the Nugget. What did you think about this movie? Did you love it, hate it? Let's agree, disagree down below in the comments. Go and tell me. You heard what I said in my last video. I'll probably say something else in my next video, but anyways, that's it from me right now, but yeah, and as always, stay awesome.